God created me to plant churches. And it's about lost people. You see, so much about church today, we think in terms of it's about the church, but it's not about the church. Christ died for the lost. He rose for the saved. He died for the lost of the world, and the commission He gave to us was to go to the lost of the world. And everything that we're going to be talking about in the coming 5 days, whether it's I am talking or Joe or Stan or someone else, is going to be focused on how do we refocus our issues from being about growing church to being about reaching the lost. Fairly regularly I have churches or groups of churches contact me and say, can you help us? And often I will go and I'll sit down with them and they'll explain what they want to do, and I'll ask them a very simple question. I said, are you interested in reaching your city for Christ, or are you interested in growing your church? Those are two very different questions. If you're interested in growing your church, you're only going to appeal to, at the most, 10% of your city. Because every church has its own culture. Every church has its own identity. Every church has its own way of doing things. And all of us in a community called a city, we don't all look at things the same way and do things the same way and relate to people the same way. So if we're about growing our church, then we're only going to reach, at most, 10% of a city. But if we can set aside that and say, no, we're about reaching the city for Christ, then we can look at the entire city, see souls won from every dimension of the city, and as a result, our churches will grow. So what I hope we want to do this week is shift our understanding that church planting is not about replicating our brand of church. It's about reaching the lost people of the world. Christ didn't die for the Baptist. He didn't die for the Methodist. He didn't die for the Catholics. He didn't die for the Pentecostals. He didn't die for the Reformed. He died for all of them, and the lost that have never heard of any of those terms.